Hello and welcome. I hope you're all doing great and staying sharp. To all DSSC aspirants, a very special welcome to you. You're on a mission, and we're right here with you every step of the way. In this video, we've got something very special lined up. A complete, smart breakdown of the latest current affairs paper recently held at the School of Artillery. And guess what? Nearly all questions came directly from our notes. Yes, you heard that right. We've made every possible effort to cover current affairs comprehensively, smartly, and most importantly, exam relevantly. If you've been following our material seriously, especially our curated notes, then you probably walked out of that exam feeling confident. Because out of 23 questions, including options, 19 were directly from our content. That's not a coincidence, that's precision. Now friends, let's be honest. No matter where you get your notes from, be it USI, UAI, or any other PDF source, a few questions will always fall outside the expected syllabus. That's the nature of competitive prep. But here's the thing. We are committed to closing that gap for you. So today, we'll go question by question. Starting from question 1. We'll show you which question matches exactly from our PDFs. And for the few that weren't covered, don't worry, we've got you covered in this video itself. So without wasting any time, let's dive into the analysis of the paper. We'll take each question sequentially, match it with our note references, and where needed, give you a crisp, clear explanation. Let's analyze each question one by one. Question 1 states, discuss the objective, key initiatives, and achievements of the Make in India initiative, which recently completed 10 years since its launch in 2014. What challenges has it faced? And what steps can be taken to further boost manufacturing and innovation in the country? Dosto, this is a directly covered topic in our current affairs note titled India's Rising Defense Innovation and Export Capability from the May-June PDF. Now that we've nailed question 1, let's keep the momentum going. Up next, question number 2, which states, evaluate the contemporary difficulties in the diplomatic ties between India and Myanmar, examining the current challenges and potential solutions. Now, this is one of the few questions that was not directly covered in our notes, but don't worry. Let's cover it right here, right now in a way that's crisp, structured, and exam-ready. Let's start with part 1, evaluation of India-Myanmar diplomatic ties. 1. Contemporary difficulties. For this we will use mnemonic civil. 1. Military coup 2021. Myanmar's military coup in February 2021 disrupted democratic governance, straining India's ties with the junta-led government. India proffers stability but faces pressure to support democracy. 2. Political instability. Ongoing civil war between the junta and rebel groups creates uncertainty, affecting India's strategic projects like the Kaladan multimodal transit transport project. 3. Border violence. Armed conflicts in Myanmar's border regions, Chin, Shan, Sagaing, spill over, fueling ethnic tensions in India's Manipur state, escalating local violence. 4. Refugee influx. Thousands of Myanmar nationals, including ex-military, have fled to India since 2024, posing security and humanitarian challenges in border states like Mizoram and Manipur. China's leverage. China's growing influence in Myanmar, especially after supporting the junta in August 2024, complicates India's efforts to counterbalance Beijing's regional dominance. Next, let's talk about next part of the question. That is about current challenges. For this, we will use mnemonic SECUR. 1. Security concerns. Porous border. The 1,643 kilometers India-Myanmar border is poorly guarded, enabling arms and drug trafficking by insurgents exploiting the Free Movement Regime (FMR). 2. Insurgent camps. Indian rebel groups from northeast India have bases in Myanmar, threatening regional stability. 3. Economic ties. Limited trade. Bilateral trade is only $2 billion, far below potential. With India, lagging behind China's economic engagement. 4. Investment gaps. Indian investments, $1.736 billion by 2023, are modest compared to China's 26% foreign direct investment share in Myanmar. 5. Connectivity projects. Delayed projects. Key initiatives like the India-Myanmar-Thailand Trilateral Highway and Kaladan project face delays due to Myanmar's instability. 6. Border fencing. India's 2024 decision to fence the border and end FMR may disrupt cross-border trade and ethnic ties. 7. Unity in policy. Balancing act. India struggles to balance engagement with the junta, rebels, and democratic forces without alienating any group. 9. Regional competition. China's support to the junta forces India to adjust its diplomatic approach, as seen in the November 2024 seminar shift. 19. Rohingya crisis. Refugee burden. The Rohingya crisis creates security concerns for India with fears of terrorist recruitment among refugees. 11. Diplomatic pressure. India's neutral stance on the 2017 Rohingya crackdown draws criticism, complicating ties with Myanmar. 3. Now let's look at some potential solutions. We will use mnemonics. Mnemonic, peace. 1. Strengthen partnerships. Regional cooperation. Deepen ties through BIMSTEC and ASEAN to counter China's influence and promote stability. Rebel engagement. Engage with ethnic armed groups controlling Myanmar's borders to secure India's interests, as suggested by Indian policy voices in 2024. 2. Enhance engagement. Twin-track diplomacy. Continue supporting Myanmar's democratic transition while maintaining ties with the junta for security cooperation, as urged by India in 2024. Cultural ties. Promote Buddhist heritage and cultural exchanges, like restoring Myanmar's Ananda Temple to build goodwill. 3. Provide assistance. Humanitarian aid. Offer targeted aid for Myanmar's refugees and displaced populations to ease border tensions, as done during past crises, example, Cyclone Nargis. Development projects. Support people-centric projects like the Rakhine State Development Program to foster stability. 4. Boost connectivity. Expedite projects. Accelerate infrastructure projects like the Kaladan project and Trilateral Highway to enhance trade and connectivity. Border management. Implement smart border controls to curb trafficking while preserving ethnic ties instead of complete fencing. 5. Empower stakeholders. Youth and civil society. Support Myanmar's youth and civil society for democratic reforms, aligning with India's Act East policy. Training programs. Expand training for Myanmar's military and civilians in India to build trust and capacity. Lastly, let's talk about latest developments, or we can say way forward. For this, we will use mnemonic, rise. 1. Rebel gangs. Ethnic armed groups like the Arakan Army and Kachin Independence Organization have captured more territory in Rakhine and northern Myanmar in 2024-25, weakening the junta. 2. Instability persists. Myanmar's civil war intensified in 2024, with no resolution in sight, impacting India's border security and projects. 3. Security measures. India's January 2025 decision to fence the entire India-Myanmar border and review the FMR aims to curb insurgent activities but risks straining bilateral ties. 4. Engagement shift. India hosted a seminar in November 2024 with junta-selected participants, adjusting its approach due to China's support to the junta while exploring rebel engagement. Now, let's move to question number 3, which states, discuss the pivotal India-Russia partnership, highlighting its role in defense, energy, and global diplomacy, while underscoring the challenges India faces in balancing Western ties to maintain strategic autonomy. Now, this question was directly covered in our notes, and not just briefly, but in rich detail under the section discussing Russia's strategic military developments and India's nuanced global balancing act. You'll find this in our CA November to March PDF, particularly around the discussion on the Rupees 26 Rubage intercontinental ballistic missile, its implications, and how India navigates this complex multipolar world. Now moving ahead, let's talk about question number 4, which states, discuss the implication of Trump's reciprocal tariff regime on India's relations with the United States and other countries. How might India's trade agreements, such as the proposed India-US Free Trade Agreement, be affected? What steps can India take to diversify its exports, reduce dependence on specific markets, and strengthen its global trade position? Now, this question is also directly and thoroughly covered in our notes from the March-April Current Affairs PDF, especially under the section on the India-US Bilateral Trade Agreement, BTA, and broader trade strategy. Here we come to the end of section 1. Dosto, out of 3 questions are directly from our notes. If you're finding this content useful, please do like, share, and subscribe. C channel is committed to provide what is relevant and important for you. If you still haven't booked your PDF, feel free to call on the number shown on the screen. Now, let's move to section 2, question number 5, which states, the ongoing conflict in Gaza and former US President Donald Trump's expanding the canvas strategy have significant implications for the geopolitical reconfiguration of West Asia, particularly with Saudi Arabia playing a key role. Analyze the evolving dynamics and their impact on regional stability and global politics. Now this one, friends, wasn't directly mentioned as a standalone topic in our PDFs. But, and here's the key, the core of this question was absolutely covered under our Link West policy, Saudi Vision 2030, and India's West Asia strategy in the May-June PDF. So let's explore this step by step. First, let's talk about evolving dynamics in West Asia. 1. Gaza conflict dynamics. For this we will use mnemonic wars. 1. War. Israel's offensive in Gaza since 7 October 2023 has killed over 55,000 Palestinians, displaced 90% of 2.3 million residents, and destroyed 170,000 homes. 2. Atrocities, blockade on aid, food, fuel, medicine since March 2025 pushes 500,000 towards starvation, labeled a humanitarian crisis. 3. Resistance, Hamas, despite losses, reasserts control, rejecting displacement and demanding a permanent ceasefire. 4. Stalemate, ceasefire talks in Qatar stall, May 2025. Israel's Netanyahu insists on eliminating Hamas, while Hamas seeks Israeli withdrawal. Next, let us understand about Trump's expanding the canvas strategy. For this we will use mnemonic deal. 1. Displacement, Trump's 4th February 2025 proposal to relocate 2.3 million Gazans to Egypt and Jordan, with the US taking over Gaza for redevelopment as a Riviera, violates international law. 2. Economic, envisions Gaza as a global tourist hub, requiring $50 billion for reconstruction, funded partly by Gulf states like Saudi Arabia. 3. Alliances, aims to expand Abraham Accords by including Saudi Arabia, but hinges on Palestinian statehood, which Israel rejects. 4. Leverage, provocative plan pressures Arab states to fund reconstruction and normalize with Israel, mirroring Netanyahu's 2020 West Bank annexation threat. Thirdly, let's talk about Saudi Arabia's role. For this we will use mnemonic crown. 1. Centrality, Saudi Arabia emerges as a Sunni leader, hosting Arab Islamic summits and shaping post-Gaza diplomacy. 2. Rejection, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, rejects Trump's Gaza plan, insisting on Palestinian statehood for Israel normalization, February 2025. 3. Oil, as OPEC Plus leader, Saudi Arabia can stabilize oil prices, aligning with Trump's drill policy to counter war-driven inflation. 4. Wealth, pledges $600 billion for US investments, could fund Gaza reconstruction if politically viable. 5. Normalization, ties with China, Russia, and Iran balance US reliance, making Saudi a key mediator in global talks. Now, let's talk about its impact on regional stability. We will use mnemonic TENS. 1. Turmoil. Trump's plan risks ethnic cleansing perception, fueling Arab outrage and instability in Egypt, Jordan. 2. Economics. Gaza, $50 billion, Lebanon, $8.5 billion, and Syria, $500 billion. Reconstruction costs strain regional economies reliant on hydrocarbons. 3. Neutralization. Iran's weakened axis of resistance, Hamas, Hezbollah, shifts power to Saudi-led Sunni states, but revival risks persist. 4. Security. Houthi missile attacks on Israel, May 2025, and Israel's Yemen strikes disrupt US Houthi ceasefire, threatening Red Sea stability. 5. Escalation. Israel-Iran clashes, April 2025, and Gaza offensive, Gideon's Chariot, May 2025, heighten war risks. Moving ahead, let's talk about impact on global politics. For this, we will use mnemonic SHIFT. 1. Sovereignty. Trump's plan violates Palestinian rights, clashing with UN resolutions and two-state consensus, alienating allies like France, Russia. 2. Hegemony. US pivot to economic deals. $2 trillion with Gulf redefines its role from military to business partner, challenging China's influence. 3. Investment. Saudi's $600 billion US pledge and AI deals with UAE, $200 billion, tie global markets to West Asia stability. 4. Friction. Trump's sidelining of Israel due to Netanyahu's intransigence and sanctions relief on Syria strain US-Israel ties. 5. Transformation. Saudi-led Sunni order and Gulf mediation, example, Qatar in Gaza, signal a multipolar Middle East, reducing US dominance. Lastly, let's talk about challenges for India's mediation role. For this, we will use mnemonic balance. 1. Bilateral. India's ties with Israel, arms, Iran, Chabhar, and Palestine support complicate mediation. 2. Autonomy. Strategic autonomy risks US pressure to cut Russian oil or halt Iran investments. 3. Leverage. Gaza's role in IMEC gives US strategic edge, threatening India's Chabhar investments. 4. Aid. Humanitarian aid to Gaza aligns with India's ethos but strains ties with Israel. 5. Neutrality. Abstaining on UN Gaza votes 2025 draws criticism, undermining India's mediator credibility. 6. Conflicts. Israel-Iran tensions and Houthi attacks risk India's 10 million Gulf expatriates and 80% oil imports. 7. Energy. Saudi oil price cuts could pressure India to shift from Russian oil, complicating Moscow ties. Alright, let's move ahead with question number 6, which states, the political instability in Manipur has raised concerns about governance, ethnic tensions, and federal intervention. Critically analyze the factors leading to the crisis and suggest measures to ensure long-term stability and inclusive governance in the state. This one wasn't explicitly mentioned in our notes, but given its national importance and impact on internal security, it's a topic you simply must be prepared for, especially in DSSC and similar strategic exams. So let's dive into this in a clear, structured way, so you're ready to tackle any question related to internal security, federalism, or the Northeast. Firstly, let's talk about background, what's happening in Manipur. In 2023 and 2024, Manipur witnessed violent ethnic clashes between the Meitei community, majority, mostly in Imphal Valley, and the Kukizumi tribes, mostly in the hill districts. The trigger was the Manipur High Court's directive to consider granting Saint status to Meiteis, which the tribal communities strongly opposed. But this wasn't just about reservations, It exposed deep-rooted historical mistrust, uneven governance, and regional imbalance. Next, let's talk about key factors behind the crisis. Let's use the mnemonic FIRE to understand the core causes. F. Federal imbalance. Perceived partiality by state authorities. Central intervention delayed, worsening the situation. AFSPA, Armed Forces Special Powers Act, partially applied, leading to confusion in command. I. Identity politics and insurgency. Ethnic polarization weaponized through political narratives. Old insurgent groups resurfaced. Demands for separate administration, cookie state, gained momentum. R. Resource competition. Disputes over land, forests, and political representation. Fear among hill tribes of loss of cultural autonomy and land rights. E. External factors. Drug trafficking and arms smuggling from across the Myanmar border. Refugee influx from Myanmar added demographic pressures. Next, let us see about governance and institutional lapses. The conflict exposed. 1. Failure of early political dialogue. 2. Weak crisis anticipation mechanisms. 3. Communication breakdown between communities. 4. Delayed central response, especially in deploying peacekeeping forces. Lastly, let us look at what can be done or way forward. Let's now look at the solutions using the mnemonic unity. U. Unified governance approach. Center, state, and local tribal leaders must work together. Avoid top-down military imposition. Focus on collaborative peace building. N. Negotiated settlement. Restore trust through inclusive dialogue. Consider special autonomous councils without altering state integrity. I. Institutional reforms. Strengthen state police. Deploy neutral central forces early. Improve judicial outreach in tribal areas for justice delivery. T. Tribal empowerment and equity. Address developmental gaps between hill and valley. Ensure fair education, jobs, and political representation. Y. Youth and civil society engagement. Promote ethnic harmony campaigns in schools and media. Leverage civil society and religious groups as peace intermediaries. And that completes question number 6, a tough one, but an important one. Now, let's take a look next. On to question 7, which states, the recent visit of PM Narendra Modi to France has reinforced the India-France strategic partnership across multiple domains. Discuss the key areas of cooperation between the two nations and analyze the broader strategic implications of the visit. Dosto, if you studied our notes, especially from the Nov to March 2025 PDF, you would have found this topic well covered, particularly under the sections discussing RAFLM deals, maritime cooperation, and India's growing partnerships with France beyond defense. Now moving next with question number 8, which states, the recent thaw in Bangladesh-Pakistan relations presents new strategic challenges for India. Discuss how this development impacts India's regional diplomacy and what steps India should take to secure its strategic interests. Now, this question was not covered explicitly in our notes, but if you read our April-May CA PDF, especially the section on India revoking the transshipment facility for Bangladesh, you already had most of the strategic context in hand. Let's dive deeper into this important development, because it directly affects India's neighborhood-first policy, China factor, and regional power balance. Firstly, let us understand what's the thaw all about. Friends, after decades of cold ties, Bangladesh and Pakistan have recently resumed diplomatic engagements, softened their rhetoric on the 1971 war legacy, open dialogue on trade and cultural exchanges. This warming of relations comes at a time when India-Bangladesh ties are being tested, especially after India revoked transshipment access for Bangladeshi goods, rising tensions over China's growing footprint in Dhaka, border killings and citizen sentiment on both sides hardening. Secondly, let's look at strategic implications for India. Let's break this down using the mnemonic risks. R. Return of Pakistan in Dhaka's diplomacy. India no longer has exclusive strategic influence in Bangladesh. This complicates India's eastern diplomacy. Increased Chinese leverage. If Bangladesh aligns more with Pakistan, China gains more diplomatic leverage through its dual friend doctrine. Security challenges in northeast India. Cross-border cooperation may suffer, impacting counter-terrorism, smuggling, and insurgent movement control. Kashmir, Rohingya linkage. Pakistan may try to internationalize Kashmir by drawing parallels with Rohingya issues, which affects India at global forums. Soft power decline. India's image as a trusted neighbor weakens, especially if Bangladesh leans toward alternate alliances. Lastly, how should India respond? The way forward. We will use the mnemonic ENGAGE to remember this strategic roadmap. Economic diplomacy reset. Reconsider transshipment restrictions under new terms. Invest more in joint SEZ, rail corridors, and inland waterways. Neighborhood First 2.0. Reaffirm commitments to connectivity, development aid, and water sharing agreements. Avoid overreaction. Maintain diplomatic composure. Greater regional integration. Push forward BBIN, BIMSTEC, and SAARC initiatives. Isolate Pakistan diplomatically by expanding multilateral cooperation. Assert security diplomacy. Continue border fence modernization. Enhance intelligence sharing with Dhaka to counter insurgent groups. Grassroots soft power. Promote cultural diplomacy through education, media, and youth exchanges. Engage civil society in Bangladesh, not just the state. Encourage strategic autonomy for Dhaka. Show that India respects Bangladesh's sovereignty and decision-making. Offer strategic choices, not pressure. Moving up next is question 9, which states, as artificial intelligence technology grows, its energy-intensive operations pose significant environmental concerns. Despite challenges, advancements like spiking neural networks and lifelong learning offer promising avenues to reduce AI's carbon footprint while leveraging its potential to address climate change. What are spiking neural networks and lifelong learning? Why is the carbon footprint of AI high? How is the water footprint of AI decided? How can AI help address climate change? How can AI be made sustainable? Now, while this wasn't explicitly covered as one big question in our PDFs, we did cover components like neural networks, AI sustainability, and their real-world applications in our March-April current affairs notes. And we're going to put it all together for you right here. What are spiking neural networks and lifelong learning? Spiking neural networks, SNNs. Brain-inspired AI models. Neurons spike only when needed energy efficient. Mimic biological neural activity. Ideal for low-power, real-time tasks. Example, robotics, edge computing. Think, smart sensor that talks only when necessary. Next, lifelong learning. It solves catastrophic forgetting in AI. Learns incrementally without losing past knowledge. Adapts over time like humans. Reduces need for retraining more sustainable. Why is AI's carbon and water footprint so high? High carbon footprint. Large models, example, GPT-3, require massive computation. Power-hungry GPUs. Often run on known renewable energy. Example, GPT-3-1, 200 MWh is equal to power for hundreds of homes month. Water footprint. Data centers use water for cooling. Bigger models is equal to more heat is equal to more water. Measured as water per query, WPQ. Every chatbot use has an invisible water cost. AI consumes both energy and water. How can AI combat climate change? Plus be more sustainable? To understand this, we will use the mnemonic Green AI. Grid optimization. Smart energy grids reduce waste, balance renewables. Remote sensing. Monitor deforestation, emissions, Climate via satellites. E. Efficient logistics. Optimize routes, cut fuel use and emissions. E. Emission tracking. Real-time industrial pollution monitoring. N. Natural disaster forecasting. Early warnings for floods, heat waves, cyclones. And that wraps up question number 9. Moving ahead with question number 10, which states, the US-India defense partnership has strengthened over the years, but a potential return of Donald Trump to the White House could alter the trajectory of bilateral ties. Analyze the key areas of defense cooperation between India and the US and examine the challenges that may arise under Trump 2.0 administration. Dosto, this question was clearly and comprehensively covered in our Nov to March PDF under the topics related to the US-India Defense Technology and Trade Initiative DTTI, joint exercises, logistics agreements, and strategic forums like Quad and ITU2. If you've revised this section, you are fully ready for this question. Moving ahead with question number 11, which states, China's dominance in the global critical minerals supply chain poses strategic and economic challenges for India. Discuss the need for India to secure its supply of critical minerals and suggest policy measures to reduce dependency on China. Dosto, this question was already covered in our notes, specifically in the May-June Current Affairs PDF under the topic Strategic Autonomy and Critical Minerals Supply Chain Diversification. So, if you've gone through that section, you already know why China's control over lithium, rare earths, and cobalt is a threat. How India is responding through missions like Kabul, mining moves with Australia, and the critical minerals list. What strategic and policy-level steps are being taken to build long-term supply security? All of that was detailed and directly aligned with this question. No gaps here. So let's move forward to question number 12, which states, the India-Mauritius relationship is deeply rooted in historical, cultural, and strategic ties. In light of the Indian Prime Minister's forthcoming visit, discuss the significance of this relationship and the key areas where cooperation can be strengthened. Dosto, this question was also already covered in detail in our notes, specifically in the 11th March to 5th April Current Affairs PDF. Topic: India-Mauritius relations and enhanced strategic partnership. If you remember, we covered historical ties, colonial past, diaspora, Gandhi's visit, maritime security, economic cooperation, digital public infrastructure, strategic relevance in the Indo-Pacific. So, if you studied from our notes, this question was a direct hit, no surprises. Let's keep the momentum going and move to question number 13, which states, analyze India's potential role in mediating conflicts in West Asia with special reference to its strategic interest and relationship with Israel, Palestine, and Iran. What are the challenges India faces in balancing these ties? This question was not directly covered in our PDFs, but don't worry, we'll break it down right here with full clarity so you're never caught off guard. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about India's strategic interests, mnemonic, SEED. Dosto, India's growing engagement in West Asia stems from core national interests rooted in security, energy, economy, and diplomacy. 1. Security, shared concerns with nations like Israel over terrorism, example, post-26/11 attacks, drive cooperation. 2. Energy, with nearly 80% of India's oil coming from West Asia, regional stability is key to affordable and uninterrupted energy access. 3. Economy, over $170 billion in trade and 40% of remittances from the Gulf highlight economic stakes. 4. Diplomacy, India's strategic autonomy allows it to engage all players, Israel, Palestine, Iran, without choosing sides. These foundational interests shape India's nuanced relationships across the region, beginning with its evolving partnership with Israel. 2. Relationship with Israel mnemonic, star. India's bond with Israel has grown steadily, driven by common interests in strategy, technology, arms, and recognition. 1. Strategic. Stronger ties since 1992, united against terrorism. 2. Technology. Joint ventures in cybersecurity, agriculture, and innovation. 3. Arms. Israel is India's second largest arms supplier, $2.1 billion. India also exports military tech. 4. Recognition. Modi's visible alignment with Israel reflects both domestic political narratives and stronger US ties. While ties with Israel are strong, India continues to balance this with long-standing support for Palestine. Next, let's talk about relationship with Palestine mnemonic, help. Dosto, India's position on Palestine is guided by historic solidarity and a principled commitment to peace. 1. Historical. Early support since 1947, recognized Palestine in 1988. 2. Empathy. Gandhi's legacy and solidarity with Muslims shape public sentiment. 3. Legitimacy. Supports two-state solution, reaffirmed during Modi's 2018 Ramallah visit. 4. Peace. Advocates dialogue and delivers humanitarian aid to Gaza. India's balancing act also includes its strategic engagement with Iran, another major regional player. Next, let's talk about relationship with Iran mnemonic, port. Dosto, India's Iran ties are shaped by geopolitical necessity and regional connectivity goals. 1. Proximity. Shared concerns in Afghanistan, ESP. Taliban and Pakistan's influence. 2. Oil. Once India's third largest supplier, halted by US sanctions post-2019. 3. Routes. Chabhar Port and Insta-Sea give India access to Central Asia, bypassing Pakistan. 4. Ties. Deep historical cultural links. 2024's 10-year Chabhar Pact signals long-term vision. With these strong yet complex ties, India is uniquely positioned to act as a mediator in West Asian conflicts. 5. India's mediation potential, mnemonic, bridge. India's neutrality, credibility, and diplomatic heft make it a credible bridge between warring parties. 1. Balance. Engages Israel, Iran, and Palestine without bias. 2. Reputation. Non-aligned legacy and positive UN image enhance global trust. 3. Initiatives. Could facilitate dialogues like China's Hamas-Fatah talks. 4. Diplomacy. Leaders like Modi and Jaishankar have actively called for restraint and dialogue. 5. Global. India's role in BRICS and SCO adds weight to its mediation efforts. 6. Expertise. Proven crisis management in Operation Sindhu 2025 evacuation shows readiness. Yet, this role is not without risks. Balancing multiple interests in a volatile region is a constant tightrope walk. 6. Challenges in balancing ties, mnemonic, risk. India faces major geopolitical and practical challenges in preserving its delicate West Asia diplomacy. 1. Rivalry. Israel-Iran conflict 2025 airstrikes forces India to remain neutral. Gaza war 55,000 plus deaths strains India's credibility as a balanced voice. 2. Interests. Chabhar investment $300 million under US threat due to sanctions. Defense dependence. Israel's arms vital, Iran's routes strategic. 3. Stance. UN abstentions on Gaza criticized as tilting pro-Israel. SCO discomfort. India distancing from anti-Israel resolutions strains Iran ties. 4. Kinetics. Strait of Hormuz tension threatens 20% of India's oil imports. Gulf Indian diaspora. 10M plus Indians at risk. Evacuations are high cost. And that finishes question number 13. Let's move to question 14, which states, what recent initiatives have been taken by India and the Gulf Cooperation Council GCC to strengthen their economic ties, particularly with regard to the proposed free trade agreement? This question was covered directly in our notes, specifically in the 5th April to 5th May PDF, under the topic India, GCC Strategic and Economic Engagement. So if you studied that PDF, you had all the points needed to write a complete, well-structured answer, no guesswork required. Let's keep rolling forward. Question 15, which states, ISRO's successful demonstration of docking technology through the SPADEX mission has positioned India in the global space landscape. What is the significance of docking technology for India? Dosto, this question was also directly covered in our notes, found in the 11th March to 5th April Current Affairs PDF, listed clearly under the topic SPADEX mission and docking technology. Alright, we're moving fast and steady. Next up is question number 16, which states, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Jammu and Kashmir on 6th June 2025 has been a landmark for the rail connectivity of J&K with the rest of India. Write a short note on the Anji Khad Bridge. Now this specific topic, the Anji Khad Bridge, and its mention during PM Modi's visit was not directly covered in our PDFs, so let's break it down right here. To remember its importance, we will use mnemonics cable, because this is no ordinary bridge. Let's break it down. 1. C. Connectivity. The Anji Khad Bridge is India's first cable-stayed railway bridge. It's part of the massive Udhampur-Srinagar-Baramulla rail link, also called USBRL, that finally connects the Kashmir Valley to the rest of India by rail. 2a. Architectural marvel. This bridge is a giant. It stands 331 meters above the riverbed, stretches 725 meters across, and is held up by 96 super-strong steel cables and a 193-meter Y-shaped pylon. They used 8,200 metric tons of steel to build it. 3. B boost to travel and trade. Once active, this bridge will cut travel time between Katra and Srinagar to just 3 hours, especially with Vande Bharat trains. That means faster travel, more tourism, and better trade for the region. 4. L. Landmark moment. The Anji Khad Bridge was inaugurated by PM Modi on 6th June 2025, along with the iconic Chenna Bridge. It marks the beginning of all-weather, all-year rail access for Jammu and Kashmir. 5. E. Engineered for safety. This bridge isn't just beautiful, it's smart. It's designed to withstand earthquakes and winds up to 260 km per hour. Perfect for the tough Himalayan terrain. Dosto, the Anji Khad Bridge is not just a bridge, it's a symbol of progress, unity, and world-class engineering. And remember, the word cable says it all. Now, moving on to question 17, which states, assess the challenges hindering BIMSTEC's effectiveness in fostering regional integration. To what extent does India's strategic focus on the Bay of Bengal, including its unilateral actions, align with or diverge from BIMSTEC objectives? Suggest measures to enhance BIMSTEC functionality? Dosto, this question was directly covered in our notes, specifically in the 11th March to 5th April Current Affairs PDF, under the topic BIMSTEC Summit and India's Strategic Role in the Bay of Bengal. All core elements of this question covered in advance and in depth. And with that, we move to question number 18, which states, critically examine the recent amendments to the Waqf Act, evaluating their potential impact on the management of Waqf properties and the role of the judiciary in safeguarding the rights of religious minorities. Now this particular topic, the amendments to the Waqf Act, was not covered in our notes. So let's explain it right here so you have a complete understanding. Let's break it down with easy memory tricks and clear explanations. 1. Key amendments, mnemonic, reform. 1. R. Register. Every Waqf property now has to be digitally registered within 6 months, aiming for transparency. 2. E. Empower. Women now have inheritance rights, and to Muslim women must be included on every Waqf board. 3. F. Flexible. The concept of Waqf by user, where informal use counted as Waqf, is gone. Now, only written documentation will be accepted. 4. Oversight. Tribunals are out. Now district collectors and senior officers will settle Waqf disputes. 5. Represent. For the first time, non-Muslims can be part of the Waqf Council and state boards for inclusive decision-making. 6. Modernize. Annual audits are mandatory. The Limitation Act of 1963 now applies, and the old Waqf Act of 1923 is repealed. Next, let's talk about 2. Impact on Waqf property management, mnemonic, clear. C. Control. Now, state officials decide if a property is Waqf. This reduces the Waqf board's autonomy, and there's fear of misuse. L. Litigation. With the Limitation Act, many old cases, over 21,000, may close, but the end of Waqf by user could spark new lawsuits. E. Efficiency. A digital database will manage over 8.7 lakh properties worth 1.2 lakh rupees crore, and faster dispute resolution is expected. A. Accountability. With audits, digital records, and inclusion of women and non-Muslims, there's a big push for better oversight. R. Resistance. But not everyone is happy. Protests erupted, especially in places like Cuttack, and there's growing distrust over lack of community consultation. Let's talk about judiciary's role in safeguarding minority rights, mnemonic, guard. 1G Guide. The Supreme Court is already hearing 65 plus petitions against the Act, including W.P.C. number 269/2025. 2U Uphold. The court is checking if the law respects Article 14, equality, and Articles 25 and 26, religious freedom, especially around non-Muslim representation. 3A. Arbitrate. It must balance reform with rights, especially around the removal of Waqf by user. 5. Review. The court is closely examining Sections 9, 14, and the Limitation Act, and comparing it with Hindu and Sikh trust laws. 6D. Defend. Finally, it must ensure minority rights aren't compromised, and that the Act isn't targeted or discriminatory. So what does it all mean? The Waqf Amendment Act 2025 is bold, digital, and reform-driven, but also controversial. While it aims to bring transparency and inclusion, questions remain around autonomy, fairness, and trust. If you found this useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Next, we'll tackle question number 19, which states, critically examine the evolving dynamics of India-Saudi Arabia relations in the context of Saudi Arabia's transformation under Vision 2030. This question was already covered in our notes, specifically in the 5th April to 5th May PDF. Under the topic, India-Saudi Arabia Strategic Partnership and Vision 2030 Alignment. Alright, next is question 20, which states, with a new Prime Minister in Canada, there is optimism in the potential reset in Indo-Canadian relations, offering benefits to both nations. Critically examine the factors that have recently strained these relations and discuss the potential avenues and challenges in revitalizing this partnership. Firstly, let's talk about what's straining the relationship. Mnemonic, Khalid. 1K. Khalistan. Canada's tolerance of Khalistani separatist groups has really upset India. For New Delhi, it's not just politics, it's a direct threat to national unity. 2H. Allegations. In 2023, Canada accused India of being involved in the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. But with no solid proof, it only deepened the trust deficit. 3A. Leadership. PM Trudeau's dependence on Jagmeet Singh's pro-Khalistan NDP between 2021 and 2024 further strained the relationship. 4. Immigration. India slashed visas by 45% in 2024 to 25. Why? Because tensions with the Sikh diaspora, many of whom support the separatist cause, kept flaring up. 5. Diplomacy. Mutual diplomat expulsions and a freeze in trade talks like CEPA have left relations in cold storage. Next part of the question. 2. How can they reset ties? Mnemonic, trade. 1. Trust. In June 2025, a new intelligence sharing agreement was signed, a step toward restoring confidence. 2. Reconciliation. PM Mark Carney reached out to Hindu communities in April 2025, showing goodwill and balance. 3. Agreements. Reviving the CEPA trade pact could boost the $12 billion trade corridor, especially in energy and agri-tech. 4. Diplomacy. Both sides restored envoys in June 2025, a big sign that talks are back on. 5. Engagement. India and Canada share a common goal in the Indo-Pacific to counterbalance China. Plus, their people-to-people ties remain strong. Lastly, what could still hold them back? Mnemonic, spark. 1. Security. Without closure on the Niger case and control of Khalistani extremism, security tensions won't go away. 2. Politics. Carney leads a minority government, limiting his ability to take bold foreign policy decisions. Meanwhile, the US is keeping Canada busy with tariff issues. 3. Accountability. The lack of evidence sharing and media-driven narratives keep fueling suspicion and mistrust. 4. Resources. Budget limits in Canada and tariff walls from India are slowing down any serious trade momentum. 5. Khalistan again. Let's face it, the Khalistan issue continues to be the biggest roadblock. Diaspora activism could easily disrupt any progress made. Now let's move to question number 21, which states, the emergence of AI-powered art generators, such as OpenAI's tools and Ghibli-style image creators raises complex questions regarding copyright law. Critically analyze the key copyright challenges posed by such technology and discuss the potential impact for artists, intellectual property rights, and the future of creative industries in India. This question was not covered in our notes, so let's explain it fully here, because this is where technology, law, and ethics collide in a big way. First, let's talk about key copyright challenges, mnemonic, style. 1. Scraping. AI models often scrape copyrighted content from the internet, like Ghibli-style art, without the artist's permission. That's where infringement risks begin. 2. Training. Most AI training dataset are hidden. We don't even know whose art was used. India's Copyright Act from 1957 isn't clear on whether this is legal. 3. Yield. While style itself isn't copyrighted, if the AI's output is too similar to a specific work, it can cross the line into copying. 4. Legal. Legally, only humans can be authors in India. So if an AI makes the art, who owns it? That's a gray zone. 5. Ethics. It also raises big ethical concerns. Artists see their styles used for free, even in harmful ways like political propaganda. Next, let's talk about its impact on artists. Mnemonic, paint. 1. Profit. AI tools create cheap art instantly, and that undercuts real artists who rely on commissions. 2. Authenticity. Let's face it, AI can't feel. So the emotions and story behind a Ghibli painting, AI just can't replicate that. 3. Income. In India, thousands of illustrators and freelancers may lose jobs as AI tools take over market share. 4. Novelty. AI tends to repeat styles. The freshness that human artists bring slowly gets buried. 5. Threat. And worst of all, AI-generated art in a Ghibli style could be misused, even disrespecting the original creators. Next, we will talk about 3. Impact on intellectual property rights. Mnemonic, right. 1. Regulation. India's Copyright Act is outdated. It doesn't address the new realities of AI art at all. 2. Infringement. Using copyrighted images in AI training without consent can amount to infringement. 3. Gaps. Who owns AI-generated work? It's still a legal vacuum, and that's dangerous. Harmonization. India needs to align with global IP rules for AI, especially with big tech players involved. Transparency. AI companies must be transparent about what data they used to train their models. Artists deserve to know. Finally, let's see future of India's creative industries, mnemonic, craft. 1. Culture. AI could copy traditional art like Madhubani or Varli without credit, putting cultural heritage at risk. 2. Regulation. We need updated laws that protect both creators and innovation. 3. Artists. Artists need to evolve, focusing on human elements AI can't replicate: emotion, storytelling, and depth. 4. Funding. The government should offer grants and incentives to help artists stay competitive. 5. Technology. With the right guardrails, ethical AI can actually help grow India's $30 billion creative economy. Now, last and final question of PSMP question from Current Affairs. Analyze the defense expenditure allocation in the Union Budget 2025-26. Dosto, this question was directly covered in our notes, specifically in the 5th May to 8th June Current Affairs PDF. Under the topic, Defense Budget 2025-26 and Strategic Posture. To all DSSC aspirants watching this, if you have our notes, you know the edge they give you. And if you haven't yet, now you know why so many toppers trust this content. Whether it's USI, UAI, or any other source, there will always be a few surprises. But what matters is how well you prepare for what's predictable and how you stay calm for what's not. And we're here to help with both. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you haven't, hit the bell icon so you never miss critical updates. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, keep preparing smart and stay mission ready. Jai Hind.